Welcome to What is Truth, brought to you by the Southern New Mexico Church of God in Las Cruces, New Mexico. What is Truth is a weekly program which seeks to focus our attention on the truth of God's Word. Now, with this week's lesson, here's Pastor Meyer Stahl.
Welcome to the program. I'm Meyer Stahl, the pastor of the Southern New Mexico Church of God, bringing you this program, What is Truth? Now, many years ago, back in biblical days, people didn't have the opportunity to vote. The voting wasn't done. There was a system of kings and kingdoms, and if you had a good king, people prospered. If you had an evil king or a bad king, people suffered. Today we have government. And our government, we vote people in to represent us. And many people today are lifelong Republicans or lifelong Democrats. Some people are independents. And instead of voting the party line, I want to ask a question. Why don't we think of voting for the individual who we feel will work for better government? Why don't we consider that? Instead of going straight party, most people go in, they vote the straight party. Why don't we vote for the individual? Well, today I'm introducing Dave Tofsted, who is running for District 36 as a state representative. And Dave, I want to welcome you to the program.
Thank you, Meyer.
You're welcome. And I'm interviewing Dave, who's running for, like I say, State Representative District 36. He's a physicist from Philadelphia. He was with the U.S. Army, the Signal Corps. He spent 4 years at White Sands, and he became a civil service employee after his 4-year stint at White Sands, and he's a GS 15, step 10. It's the highest representative, highest post rather, and his education. He wrote over 70 papers and reports. Many were published in scientific journals. He has 2 boys, Nate and Sam, who both graduated from Mayfield High School, and a wife, Kathy. And again, I say to you, Dave, welcome to the program. I have a few questions for you today.
Go ahead,
we're doing an interview, and I want to interview you and find out what you believe, what you sincerely feel. What about education? How are we here in New Mexico? What is the educational condition?
Well, let me just say that I was at NMSU for probably longer than I should have been, but because I was working, you had to basically do your job and go to school, and so I got to see NMSU, but I've known people who've graduated from high school and they get to the NMSU and they find out they've got to do all these remedial classes. So it's it's a bad system right now. People are getting educated, right? But they're not. We're 50th in the country in education, and 30% of our students are proficient in math or English at the end of 3rd grade. Only 20% are proficient in English and math by the end of 3rd grade. So basically that says that in English, 70% of the students are not being served by the system. And in math, it's 80% of the students who are not being well served by the system. And that's how we end up in the 50th position. But what can we do? We have to figure out a way to get our students to actually be able to read and write and spell and do math. And that's where you start. You have to start at the right place. And once you get beyond that, then once you get those basics, then you can go on from there. But we have to get focused on just getting them to read, write, and do the basic math.
So, Dave, there has to be some changes, right?
Absolutely.
And under the system that we have today, it's a very poor system if we are last in the whole country, the worst in the whole country
and
in education.
Here's what I'd say.
That's horrible.
You know, we could choose any of 30 states probably to follow in terms of what they're doing. Whatever we're doing, and I emphasize this, I'm not blaming the teachers. I'm not blaming the students. I'm blaming a systematic thing that's going on from the top. And partly it has to do with how the PED is being run in terms of the PARCC testing that is taking up almost a month of our time in classrooms. I mean, you can't take a month out of the education cycle and say that's not harming the students. That just doesn't make sense to me. So we have to replace PARCC with something else. And the other thing that's happening is PARCC and the Pearson educational materials are sort of joined at the hip. And that connectivity has got to be broken. And that's another issue that we need to work on.
So, Dave, what we're looking for is some kind of change here from the status quo. Is that true?
That's true.
So we need some new faces up there. We need to change people.
And you have to ask yourself, Meyer, if the Democrats are being funded by the teachers' unions, and the teachers' unions have now come out against my campaign, so who is going to call the teachers' unions onto the carpet and say to the teachers, this is how to resolve this situation, this is how to reform the system? The Democrats have no incentive at all to try to get to reforms. They just as soon stay with the status quo, and that's what's happening. And we're just the same place we were years ago, and they'll blame Susana Martinez, but she is not the root cause of our bad education system. It was bad before Martinez got in there.
So if you're happy with this bad educational system, if you're happy with it, then vote Democrat, right?
That's right. I'd vote Democrat if it was, if I was happy with it.
Okay.
And obviously the teachers are happy with it. I mean, because they're promoting the Democrats. But it's the teachers' unions. It's really, I don't know that the teachers are really all that happy with how the things are working and the way that they're being rated. Maybe that needs to be changed. But it has to be something where, like some teachers there's 30 kids per class. But you take the number of teachers in the Las Cruces public school system. There's 1,400 teachers, and there's 24,000 students. So you divide 1,400 into 24,000, and I don't get 30 students per classroom. I only get 18 students per classroom. So there's something going wrong there institutionally, where some teachers are being set up with massive numbers of students and others are getting off with very few students. How is that fair? I don't get it. So we need to figure out how to make it fair for all the teachers in the system.
Okay, let's go on to another subject. Let's go on to energy. What's happening in energy here in New Mexico?
Well, you've got the oil and gas industry that is generating about a third of the income in this state. And so when you have a third of the income, and you're relying on that to come in every year and bring you enough money to run the state government, do you go ahead and make it cripple the state oil and gas industry? But yet, New Mexico, the Democrat Party, one of their chief backers is called Frack Free New Mexico. So if you end fracking, that's going to kill the oil and gas boom that we've seen. Why would you do that? But then on top of that, my opponent, Nathan Small, is promoting this 80% renewable power this 80% power plan. Okay, so 80% will come from solar and wind. But that'll cost $50 billion to install, which is roughly $2,500 per family for the next 20 years.
That's extra.
That's beyond what you're now paying on your utilities bill.
So if you want to pay another $2,500,
another $200 a month on your utility bill,
then vote Democrat.
Vote Democrat, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So how does this work out?
Well, so you look at how many of these plants, how many solar or wind plants you've got to install. Well, like for example, out in California, there's a plant called the Topaz Solar Farm. The Topaz Farm installed 550 megawatts of solar panels, and it cost $2.5 billion to install. Now, Steve Fishman and these other Democrats will say, hey, solar panels are going down. But the problem is that when you install a solar plant, you got to start from bare desert. So you got to build up with concrete and all the infrastructure for the panels, the mounts, and then the chain link fence and all the copper wiring and all the transformers and on and on. Or if it's wind, you got to put in these turbines. Well, where are we buying those from, Meyer? We're buying them from out of state. So what's going to happen when we buy all this stuff? We're going to send money from hardworking New Mexicans, and we're sending it out of the state to buy stuff made elsewhere so we can install it here.
Okay, so what does it
and
cost?
It's costing too much.
What does it cost per kilowatt hour? That's what I'd like to know.
Well, here's the interesting thing that Steve Fishman says. Hey, solar power is cheap. It only costs 2 cents a kilowatt hour. Isn't that great? But then you think, okay, so I install 1 kilowatt worth of solar panels for $4,500. That's what the plant out in California cost. And now I get 6 hours worth of that on average a day, and I get to sell it for 2 cents. So that's 12 cents profit a day. Isn't that great, right? So now you take that 12 cents, that becomes $50 a year. In 20 years, it's paid back $1,000 on your investment of $4,500.
That's ridiculous.
Wait a minute. And then the solar panels go bad after 20 years, and you have to start all over again.
So how much per kilowatt hour is it? What is the actual cost?
So obviously, if you really wanted to pay it back,
right,
it wouldn't be 2 cents a kilowatt hour. It would be 10 cents to pay it off, right? In with a little profit. So it's not 2 cents a kilowatt hour, it's 10 cents a kilowatt hour. And right now, we're paying 11 cents per kilowatt hour for regular power. But then you got to figure that there's 30% of the cost is generation, 30% is transmission, and 30% is distribution, and then there's a profit on top of that. So, when you say, oh, it's so cheap, well, it's going to double our electric prices at least, and probably even higher than that because we're going to pay off the profit for all these people. So it's not going to work out in the long run. It's going to be more expensive than they say it will be.
Okay, we're going to take a short intermission. Please don't go away. We've got so much more to share with you. We'll be right back.
Call Mark Goldstein, the Safe Money Guy, at 575-556-2472 to learn about innovative strategies now available to help you grow, protect, and preserve your money and financial future, regardless of market conditions.
Horizon Granite is here.
It's here! Horizon Granite is here. We'll come to you to customize your kitchen and bathroom with beautiful countertops and cabinets. Find out more at horizongranite.com. Call us at 575-650-3180.
Horizon Granite is here.
It's here!
Make yourself a beautiful home.
Welcome back to the program. Our program today is, do you want better government? Now, I don't expect a no. No, I don't want better government. My guest here, Dave Tofsted, is giving us some examples. Dave, let's get back to the energy problem. Has this solar panels and wind production, has this been tried elsewhere?
It has, Meyer, and it's been, for example, it's been done in Germany, it's been done in Denmark, it's been done in Spain, England, Australia, California, and...
What about California?
Well, in California, they're paying up to 45 cents a kilowatt hour, which is 4 times what we're paying for power. And they've got an advantage on us, which is this hydroelectric dams, and we don't have that. So we're going to have to pay extra to put it all into batteries, which cost much more, and they don't even have the technology yet. So it's all guesswork, and they're banking on something that doesn't exist.
So I guess if you want to pay 45 cents and you could pay 11 cents, then you should vote Democrat, right?
Right, and they're only at 30% renewables, and Michelle Grisham and my opponent Nathan Small want to go to 50% renewables, and then they want to go to 80%. But it's 50% in 10 years, and then it's 80% in 20 years. So they said, oh, it's only going to go to 50%. But then 10 years from now, they're going to say, oh, let's go to 80% anyway. So it's all a smoke and mirrors game, but they basically want to go to 100% eventually.
Okay, what about jobs here in New Mexico? Would you give us some information on that?
We're 46th in job opportunity. And in terms of there's a family prosperity index, we're 50th in that too. And so this state is just so bad in terms of you want to do something, so you have to get a permit from the government. And before, it was just one permit you needed. Now you need 2 permits to do the same thing you needed to have 1 permit to do before. And we're heavy on licensing. Susana Martinez is doing something to try to mitigate that. She's not doing so good because she's got Democrats in opposition, and they'll probably try to reverse whatever she's doing right now once Grisham gets in. Hopefully that won't happen. Hopefully it'll be Steve Pierce who gets in as governor.
Okay, so here we've got a poor educational system, and the kids graduate, and there's no jobs for them, and they have to go to other states to get jobs. And,
Absolutely.
And now the family's all separated because there's no local jobs, right?
Right, and my third blank was families. But you think about it this way, because we've got poor job market, we've got not as much money that we can put into schools, but because we've got a poor education system, we've got a workforce that other states and other businesses consider not good enough for their business to relocate here. So it's a vicious cycle that we have to figure out a way to get around it, just for the people of this state that are just so hurting from the bad government that we've had since Democrats have run either the legislature or the governor or one house of the legislature at least for the last 85 years.
Okay, you have a couple personal examples with your sons, right?
Yeah.
Okay, how did that work out?
So Nate got a bachelor's in mechanical engineering, and then he looked for 3 years to get a job in this area, and he could not get a job, and so now he moved to North Carolina. My other son, Sam, he wanted to be a writer, and he couldn't get a job here, so he didn't even stop. He just went straight to California. Why do we do this to ourselves? We need to have a robust industry and business culture here, and we need to get government so it's actually on our side instead of acting as though the government is protecting us from these evil corporations. Instead, the government should be cooperating with businesses to improve the state, like they're doing in Texas and other states nearby.
Okay, how do you feel about the Second Amendment, Dave?
I am fully in support of the Second Amendment, and I really have problems where we're constantly where we're trying to, like Greg Smith was saying, well, we've got to get rid of private ownership of semi-automatic weapons. Well, that's pretty extreme to me. I'm not in that position, but I certainly wouldn't back that at the state level.
Well, I get that an NRA magazine monthly, and it's called The American Hunter, and I saw your name on it in District 36. It talks about the election of 2018, and you're running against Nathan Small, and you had answered the questionnaire, and you got an AQ for answering the questionnaire. Nathan Small has a question mark. He did not answer the questionnaire. We don't know how Nathan Small feels about guns.
And apparently they haven't passed anything or voted on anything up in Albuquerque or in Santa Fe to determine what his position really is. So he seems to do that fairly often. He won't tell voters where he stands on the issues, because if they knew where he really stood, then maybe they wouldn't like it so much. And this is one of these cases where he just won't tell people where he stands. Okay,
so if you want your guns taken away and you want to be at the mercy of the criminals will have guns, and you won't have any guns, well, just vote Democrat, that's all. Okay, that's easy.
That's right, Meyer.
Now here's a blip here about banning guns addresses a fundamental right of all Americans to feel safe. So banning guns makes you safe, right? And this is promoted by U.S. Senator Dianne Feinstein, a Democrat in California. And Did you know,
Well-
Dave, that she has bodyguards 24 hours a day? 24 hours a day she has bodyguards. Are they going to take the guns away from her bodyguards?
And what they're saying now they want at the state level is they want to have this system where any gun sale is, you have to have sort of a license to sell your gun. Well, that to me sounds a lot like a pathway towards gun registration, but what do I know? I mean, maybe the fact that they know the serial number that was sold to you, and so now they can come to your house and say, well, where's this gun with this serial number? Well, I gave it to my neighbor Bob. Well, that's not good enough anymore, because even if you've known Bob for 20, 30, 40 years and you think Bob is a good guy and you gave it to him as a Christmas gift or whatever, well, that should have been registered, because otherwise we can't keep track of where that gun went to, even if you knew the guy. So this whole thing about we got to close the gun sale loophole, gun show loophole, it actually is more than the gun show loophole. It comes down to personal friends. Anyway.
Well, let's sum this up. Let's just sum it up,
Let's sum
Dave.
it up. Okay.
Okay. If you want poor education, if you want to be the 50th state at the bottom of the list, and you don't want jobs here, you got to go somewhere else to find jobs, and you want to pay more for energy, you want to pay 45 cents instead of 11 cents, then vote Democrat. Well, folks, thank you. This is Meyer Stahl, and saying goodbye, my friends.
You have been listening to What is Truth with Pastor Meyer Stahl of the Southern New Mexico Church of God, located in Las Cruces, New Mexico. For copies of today's lesson or for more information, call area code 575-650-7359. That's 575-650-7359. Join us next week at this same time for another edition of What is Truth? Until next week, we wish you God's richest blessings.